Welcome to another episode of Living with FASD, an informational and human interest show for those who have been affected by prenatal exposure to alcohol, their loved ones, and anyone else interested in learning more about FASD, brought to you by someone with both professional and personal living experience with an FASD. This week, I'm excited to bring to you Maggie May. It seems like it's been a while since I've had another adult with living experience on the show, so I'm delighted to have Maggie with us today. She is a 27-year-old from Ireland who has she was diagnosed at 5. She's known since her adolescence. So her discovery period was probably not too different from mine, or too different from some of the other folks that I've had on the show anyway. And she's a well-known speaker in the FASD circuit, and she moderates several online support groups, including the largest global online support group for teens and adults with FASD. And she provides online mentoring to teens with FASD in several countries. So Maggie's been a member of the Adult Leadership Collaborative of the ALC Changemakers for 3 years now, and that is such an exciting group of young adults. She works for both FASD Ireland and FASD UK. I think that's changed. She's just FASD UK at this point. She is an expert advisory committee member for the development of a health app for adults with FASD by the University of Rochester, USA. That is the program that you heard me talk about with Dr. Christy Petrenko just last week. So Maggie's goal is to help those with fetal alcohol spectrum disorders to find their own voices and to find the courage to be who they are and achieve whatever it is that they want to do. Maggie May, welcome to you.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, such a pleasure to have you on Living with FASD. So, yeah, where would you like to start with? Because that intro brought up a lot of different things.
It did. It definitely showed the kind of journey I've been on. And yeah, like you said, I got my diagnosis when I was very young.
Mm-hmm.
And I was very fortunate because in Ireland, FASD isn't actually recognized as a disability as of
Yeah.
yet. And there's actually no direct diagnostic pathway to get a diagnosis. So I was very fortunate to actually have been able to find someone in Ireland who could officially diagnose me
Yeah.
when I was that young. Um, but the fact that I kind of wasn't told until I was around 13, 14 meant I went on this journey of not knowing,
Mm-hmm.
but the people around me knowing. So it was kind of I guess my experience is 50-50, where I grew up as if I didn't have a diagnosis, but I also grew up with a diagnosis.
Yeah. Yeah. What was the what where did your head go in that process? Like, before you were told of your diagnosis, did you go through, what I went through for a much longer period of time, right? Wondering, why is this hard for me when it seems so easy for other people? Is there something wrong? Right? Did you go through any of that as a child and preteen?
Oh gosh, I really did. A lot of it for me was the fact I couldn't understand. Like you said, I wasn't able to pick up on things. Like I was terrible at anything mathematical,
Mm-hmm.
absolutely terrible at it. Um, I was starting to see the differences of me against my peers of this is coming so easy to them, and yet I cannot do it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think also it was I would keep making the same mistakes over and over and over again,
Yeah.
and I couldn't understand why. It was very frustrating.
Yeah.
It was I am very fortunate. My parents, like I said, they knew what it was. So they were very understanding of, okay, impulse control. I kept taking things that weren't mine, and it didn't matter what the punishments were or the consequences or
Hmm.
explain it to me. The next week, if you still left a chocolate bar out on the counter, I would take that chocolate bar.
Yeah.
And it was just I couldn't understand because I knew I'd get in trouble or I knew this, but I just couldn't stop myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it was a very frustrating journey. Especially, I would go through meltdowns and I would hate myself because I couldn't
Hmm.
understand why. It would just come on so suddenly.
Yeah.
I couldn't understand what brought it on, and I couldn't understand why I was reacting the way I was reacting because at that point I didn't know about things like triggers or being overwhelmed because of sensory issues or burnouts or just being emotionally unregulated. I didn't know
Yeah.
any of this stuff.
So I'm curious if your parents knew the diagnosis, had they known that all these behaviors were part of it? Or how did they explain to you or support you without telling you?
So it was not their choice not to tell me. I grew up in the care, and so it was actually my social worker had banned them from telling me. So
Oh
they had
my.
wanted to tell me. I mean, it was like she has a right to know, and they were told that under no circumstances was I to be told. Um,
Wow.
so for them, it was eating away at them as well, being like, So at that time, mobile phones weren't a thing. Lovely corded landlines, and they would be costing a fortune. They'd be ringing like FAC organizations in Germany and Canada and America, just trying to find, the best
Answers.
ways of supporting me, the best
Yeah.
resources. Um, they're on every online format in it, dinosaur basic days of anyone who typed in FASD and they were trying to
Yeah.
make connections. So,
Yeah.
one thing they knew about me is I was very sensory was a huge thing for me. So they built my
Hmm.
own sensory room where I had
Oh, that
swings,
is cool.
I had gym balls, I had all these fidgets, I had forts, I had all of these stuff, and that was just my room. It
Hmm.
cost them a small fortune. Um, but they knew, that's what I needed, and
Hmm.
I don't know where I would have been if I didn't have that input of I
Yeah.
had somewhere where I could regulate myself.
Yeah.
Um, and they knew not to do things like sticker charts or putting unrealistic expectations on me. And
Yeah.
they would get frustrated at times, but it wasn't at me. It was at
Yeah.
the fact that they couldn't tell me, they could see my frustration
Yeah.
and they couldn't tell me. So, things like they wouldn't get angry when I would steal things or when my impulse control or when I'd have
Hmm.
meltdowns for no reason or I wasn't able to communicate to them why I was having a meltdown or what caused it.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm
yeah.
just as a foster and adoption social worker for past 24 years, it floors me that the social workers prohibited them from sharing your diagnosis with you. I'd like to say that none of us knew what we didn't know until we learned it, because certainly that that approach is not best practice.
Yeah, I
That absolutely floors me because it put all of you through a lot of unnecessary stress.
yeah, I think my that social worker had this um maybe end goal or end dream that I would end up back with my biological family and we'd all live happily ever after. And she did not want me being told that I had FASD or fetal alcohol spectrum disorder to make any judgment towards my biological mother.
Okay.
I think she didn't.
I can appreciate that idea.
Yeah.
I don't
Um,
agree with it, but I
no.
understand it.
And these days, it would definitely not be okay to withhold a
Yeah.
diagnosis.
Yeah.
But I can see why it had happened. I
Yeah.
definitely do not agree with it. And like you
Yeah.
said, it would have made my life a little bit easier.
Yeah.
I was very fortunate when I got a new social worker who was from Canada. The first thing my foster parents at the time said is, "Can we tell her?" She's like, "Yeah." What do you mean she doesn't know? Yeah, you tell her. She has a right to know, and
Yeah.
I'm very grateful to that
Yeah.
social worker.
Oh, for sure. I'm glad that social worker had emigrated to Ireland.
So am I.
So did your parents adopt you?
They
Or
did.
are you informally claimed forever?
Oh, no, I was adopted.
Okay.
It was a very, very, very long, lots of red tape. My biological father had died when I was a baby.
Hmm.
And I had a relationship with my biological mother where I would meet with her when I was a child and stuff. It was once a month, and then as I grew older, it became a little bit less, because I was busy with high school and other things.
Yeah.
Um, so I asked when I was 14 if I could be adopted.
Hmm.
Um, I then had to have a difficult, but it was a very refreshing and freeing that I actually went to we set up a meeting between me and my biological mother, and I just, we had a very heart to heart on everything. And I was like, look, you have your issues. I understand. I love you. You're always going to be my mother, but these people have been raising me since I was 3 days old. Um,
Hmm.
and so I asked her, is it okay for me to be adopted? And she was like, yeah, they can give you what I cannot. You are thriving in that environment. They are doing everything I could never do for you on getting supports and resources and everything.
Hmm.
Um, but then it took until 3 months before my 18th birthday for the adoption to go through
Still
because
that long. Oh my goodness.
um because she gave her permission, but it wasn't enough because my biological father didn't give his permission. So it meant, I had to
But
go
it
into
was
high.
dead.
He was dead, but red tape and everything that her permission wasn't
Oh,
enough. So I ended up having to, go to high court, which is very nerve-wracking. Not
yeah.
just your standard court. This was high court, and pretty much ask and tell them why I wanted to be adopted and stuff. So it was very I came out, and all the the judge and the all the lawyers and everything, they were in tears.
Oh.
Um, I do not remember to this day what I said. But they're
Hmm.
like, she's changed because just how she described and why and stuff. She's like, she's just changed the road for a lot of people who are going through the adoption system. I'm like, I get
Good.
that. So yeah,
Bravo.
thank you. But yeah, it was very close call because I don't know in Ireland, it once you become 18, you can't be adopted legally.
Okay.
Um, so it was very close. It was
Yeah.
very close.
Yeah. We can here in the States, you can have adult
Oh
adoptions.
wow.
Yeah. Yeah. Because everybody needs a forever home, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Parenting doesn't stop when kiddos turn 18, which is very good for those of us who have, you know, um, neurological issues that may need support much longer
Oh yes,
than is
definitely.
typical. So, yeah, that's a wonderful story. Um, so what was it like when they told you, like, walk me through. Did they come to you in your room and say, sit down, we have to tell you something? Was it like planned out in a peaceful time, or was it shortly after another crisis?
At that age, I was starting to notice things about myself. The differences were really starting to come clear of I was
Hmm.
really struggling. I was not achieving as well as the other people my age. My maturity levels were not up there. And
Hmm.
then in other ways, I was way too mature for my age. And I was starting to question. At this point, I thought I was a devil child. I thought I was this
Oh
demon
no.
child. I thought I was this worst child. How could anyone love me? Because I was having meltdowns. I was stealing. I was,
Yeah.
um. And as soon as I got permission, it was actually on a drive home from school or from a shopping trip,
Okay.
and my mother my then foster mom was just like, Maggie, do you know what it's like when you have a mosquito bite and you're told you're not allowed to scratch it and it's really itchy and you're going to scratch it? That's what it was like for your biological mom when it came to alcohol. Now, when you put it
Interesting.
like that, we've all had a mosquito bite or had a bug bite or something, that chicken pox, where you're not allowed
Yeah.
to scratch, but you're going to scratch anyway because you
Yeah.
can't help yourself.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when it's put like that for me, I've never held any blame, shame, or anything towards my birth mom. She is an
Yeah.
absolute amazing woman who was let down by lack of awareness, lack of support. But so I've never ever blamed her. I have nothing but so much respect for her. Um, but once I knew that actually it wasn't my fault, that actually I wasn't this demon child. I wasn't deliberately stealing. I wasn't
Yeah.
deliberately, having meltdowns and screaming and shouting and punching,
Yeah.
and it wasn't my fault that I wasn't getting straight A's or 100% on all my tests. It took a weight off my shoulders because I was like,
Yeah.
it's not my fault. It is
Yeah.
okay. And
It's what alcohol did to me.
exactly. And
Yeah.
it really changed how I saw myself after that day, because I
Hmm.
was like, you know what? I can find structures, I can find strategies. It's not the end of the world. And I think
Yeah.
people sometimes think, oh, you have this lifelong disability, it's the end of the world. For me, I was like, no,
No.
it's not. Absolutely not. It just means, hey, I get to have much more fun than neurotypicals get to have, because I get to see the world so much differently, and
Yeah.
I get to come up with crazy solutions on how I'm going to tackle certain obstacles.
Yeah. Yeah. And you have your own sensory room.
Yeah, I know. Oh, happy days.
So, how did that change the way your parents supported you once you understood? Um, did they did their support for you, was it easier for them to provide structures for you and supports?
It was for me. I didn't fight them on it anymore, and I think that was a
Okay.
huge key. Before, I was just like, "You're
Yeah.
being so uncool. You're being overprotective. You're not letting me have a mobile phone. You're not letting me go
Yeah.
out to parties, kind of thing." Um, Whereas once I learned, and it was more okay. I know why you're doing it now. Yes, it's unfair, but actually, you're doing it for the right reasons, and you're absolutely right.
Hmm.
And don't get me wrong, there was times when they dropped the guard, and I would do something I shouldn't do, and for me, but that wasn't my fault. And the way my parents like, yeah, we dropped, that was our fault. That you're not to blame for this. We dropped the ball. We didn't
Hmm.
lock away our wallets or our purses, or we left a phone lying around where you had
Yeah.
access to it. So
Yeah.
no, that's
Yeah.
on us.
Yeah.
Um, but also it meant that we could just have conversations where, because I was starting to know why I was doing
Hmm.
things, it meant that I could then, start having conversation about what are triggers.
Yeah.
Hey, look, there's this certain noise just really irritates me. For me, it's like metal spoons and ceramic cups. I cannot stand
Oh,
the sound,
yeah.
screeching sound of what hitting the bottom. It's like we use plastic spoons to like stir coffees and teas and everything. Uh,
Hmm.
Whereas before I didn't know, whereas I was able to communicate, and wow, my home life got so much better once that trigger was out of the way. But it meant that it also changed at how they saw me, because and also how they describe me. So even external family would be like, before be like, oh, Maggie's just having a Maggie moment, which automatically put the blame on me as, oh, this is a Maggie
Hmm.
thing. Whereas now she's like, oh,
Hmm.
she's just having an FAC moment. And also it's
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, it's not a Maggie thing, it's just her FAC. So
Yeah.
let her do
Yeah.
what she needs to do.
Yeah.
Um and it's just about normalizing it, where all of a
Yeah.
sudden, it'd be like, I've had an FAC brain day where nothing worked and they know what it meant. Or
Yeah.
our dinner conversations are riveting, because I'll just come out with these random things of, why do we do this, or oh, I did this today, and they're like, okay, right, your maturity level today is at a 6-year-old. All right, we're going to roll with that. So it always varies. It's very interesting, very fun, but
Yeah.
it meant that I knew what was happening, so I could come to
Yeah.
them instead of harboring it and internalizing it of,
Yeah.
I'm a bad child, this is my fault, I'm stupid, you know I was able to
Yeah.
go to them and be like, is this FAC or is this just a Maggie thing? is this my ADHD, or is this an FAC thing, or is this just
Yeah.
because it's not all FAC stuff. Some of it's just my personality. I have a weird sense
Yeah.
of humor, not necessarily an FAC thing. It's a
Yeah.
thing. So it's a. I started having these. Is this an FAC thing? Is this an ADHD thing? Is this a dyslexic thing? Is this just a everybody thing? Whether you have a disability or not, is this just what the people are like, kind of thing?
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, it was very freeing, and it made, communications and relationships really strengthened by that.
Okay. So you're 27 now, and you became part of the ALC when you were then, what, 24, 25?
Yeah, gosh.
Yeah, that's
Wow.
that's pretty young to be
Yeah.
joining an international organization. What has that been like for you?
Oh, it's been amazing. Um, for so long, I was very much doing things on my own,
Mhm.
or I was guest appearing on podcasts or webinars and stuff, but it was
Like today.
like um and it was all about, telling my story, and I work a lot with parents and I work a lot with individuals. Whereas the ALC is a little bit above that, where we deal with researchers. We're part of
Mhm.
research. We are
Mhm.
and it's a complete different perspective. Um
Mhm.
and the kind of work that we get offered is so much different to what I've ever experienced, like having the pleasure of being part of the advisory committee for the health coach by Rochester,
Okay.
and it's a great group of individuals from all around the world, but we all have the same goals. We all have the same, not story, but we've all gone through our journeys, and we were all
Mhm.
almost at kind of the same point. Um, And I don't know about you, but having a Zoom with like 17 people who all have FAC is quite fun, because
Yeah.
we don't ever stay on topic. We go all over the place, and hour-long Zoom ends up into a 6-hour Zoom,
Yeah.
because we all are so passionate, and we all have different stories, and we all have
Yeah.
different strategies and solutions and ideas of, hey, this would be really cool to do research on, or
Yeah.
oh, this would be a great presentation. So it's
Yeah.
we're always bouncing off each other,
Yeah.
but because we're international, it's really fun to see. Oh, okay, it's the same in Ireland as it is for Canada and America, or oh, you used to do
Mhm.
things differently, or
Yeah.
oh, you went through people not getting it. Oh, I went through the same thing, or
Mhm.
education of trying to get teachers to understand or be able to support, and so it's really funny to see what the similarities are. So it doesn't matter
Mhm.
what country you're from. We've all gone through the same things in certain ways and in
Yeah.
certain areas, and in other areas we're so different.
So the ALC has representatives from Canada, US, Ireland, obviously, Netherlands, Australia. Where else?
Uh, New Zealand.
Okay.
Uh, oh, I'm gonna forget one. It's from 7 countries anyway. That much. Ireland, Canada, America, Netherlands, Australia, New Zealand, and Norway, I think.
Norway.
No,
Okay.
one of them. I know there's
Okay. Yeah.
but that's also very recent of, us adding more people and for us to go globally.
Hmm.
It makes it very exciting.
Yeah.
We're all different ages, and some of us have kids, some of us don't have kids, some of us are married, some of us aren't married. It's very interesting, the kind of the mixture that is in the ALC.
Hmm. Hmm. That every time I talk about or talk with someone who's a member of the Changemakers, it just thrills me to no end, and inspires me. Um, every chronic condition needs a group like that to move the needle forward, to keep pressure on those that do the research and those that set policy. So, yeah, well done. Good on you for joining that. What project that you've been part of with the ALC has meant the most to you?
Oh, I think they all have. I think the health coach app I'm really passionate about because I can really see the benefits of the fact that there isn't anything out there for adults with FASD.
Mhm.
Um, and it's filling in a gap of what happens when you're no longer a kid, or your parents are the people who are your external brain, or the people
Yeah,
helping you be able to navigate, and they're not there anymore.
yeah,
And it's also about giving individuals and adults to be able to be as independent but in a structured way. So,
hmm,
health coach app reminds you to take medications. It can track
yeah,
when you need your prescription filled, of hey, you have a doctor's appointment, and it's all in one app. So what I love about this, and I'm very glad how it came together, is there is an app for all of the stuff, but they're all
mhm,
different apps. When you have FACA, you forget everything,
yeah,
or you go onto your home screen, you're like, oh, I'm going to input that I took my medication, and hey, there's TikTok, and then you forget what you're
yeah.
initially doing.
Squirrel.
100%. I've done it so many
Yeah,
times. So what the app does, it actually just sends you a reminder and be like, hey,
yeah,
you haven't put in that you've taken your medication today. Have you taken it today? Or hey, you said you're going to go
yeah,
for a walk today. So have you gone for? And it's not
yeah,
a do this. It's a hey, that's a trigger of have I done it? Yes, I have.
yeah.
Okay. Ooh.
I
Um.
let I let myself down yesterday. Um, I was doing something here on the computer. I think I was getting ready for my interview with Christy Petrenko, and my husband popped his head in and he's like, "Hey, I'm going for a ride." He rides a minimum of 100 miles on his mountain bike every week. Um, it's like, I'm going for a ride at 5 o'clock, turn the smoker up to 350 because the brisket's in there. And, we don't want to be eating too late. And it was 4 o'clock. And I'm like, yeah, okay. Did I set my timer? Next thing I knew, it was 5:45. It's like, oh, no, 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 no. Yeah. Yeah. We can put a lot of structures in place, but if we don't use them,
Yep. Oh, we've all been there and definitely done that so
yep,
many times.
yep. The struggle is real, as
So real.
as Robbie Seal would say, but so is the success because the brisket was pretty good.
Oh, excellent. It's just meant to be.
And then we didn't have to eat too terribly late in the evening.
Oh, that's handy. That's very useful.
Oh my goodness. I kept praying, please be a long ride. Don't come home soon.
Oh yes, I agree. One of those.
I'm in
All been there.
trouble.
Oh yes, all been there.
Yep. Yep. So that is a fascinating app. I told Christy when I was speaking with her that I had seen it advertised. They were looking for people to participate, but I was thinking, I'm so on top of my medical stuff. I don't think I need the help. So I didn't act on it, but it's such a cool thing that it does so much more than that,
Oh yeah.
right?
Um, and
Yeah.
I think the ALC were key was making sure that it was as FAC friendly. So
Yeah.
we didn't want it to be overcomplicated. We didn't
Yeah.
want it to for you to have to do 500 steps to set it up. We
Yeah.
also wanted to be really as customizable so that like
Yeah.
every individual with FAC is different. They have different needs. They are working on different works for them. So we really
Yeah.
wanted to make it as individual, customizable as possible. So if you're someone
Hmm.
who doesn't need 50 reminders to do something, you can be like, oh, I just need one reminder, and you can set the app to
Yeah.
give you that one reminder.
Yeah.
Or if
Yeah.
you're someone like me who needs like 1,000 reminders to remember to like take washing out of the washing machine and not leave it there for 7 days.
Yeah. That's
Um,
something else I use this for, is when the washer or dryer is going to be done.
oh yes.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
yeah, it's really customizable to an individual. And like you said,
Yeah.
you might not need all of the aspects of the app, so you
Yeah.
can pick and choose what you need help with.
Yeah. Last spring I kept seeing advertised on, how the commercials are on socials. You get flooded with the same product forever, and then it's just gone and you never see it again. But I purchased a calendar, scheduler thing for people with ADHD because I need help with organization. And it's like, yeah, I can't wait to use this. But I didn't have time. I started to download it, and it seemed like there were multiple things you had to, once you got everything downloaded, it was supposed to work great. But if I try with me and technology, we're not good buddies. We're not good buddies at all. And I'll try things a couple times and then I have to walk away. Well, when I came back, it had already been long enough. I can't find it.
Oh,
So I paid that. Where is
yeah.
it? I don't know. I just know it was springtime when I ordered it.
Wow.
Not helpful.
No, that's unfortunate.
Yeah. Oh, I can't even remember which email I ordered it with.
Oh, wow. Okay. You're like me who has multiple emails for different things.
One for the business, two for me, one for my job, one for the podcast. Yeah, it's too
Yeah.
much. Too much.
Yeah.
But all right. So tell me about FASD UK. What all do you do with them?
So with FSD Awareness UK, I run online support groups.
Okay.
I run two, one for kids with FSD, and they're not really support groups. I call them social groups.
Mm-hmm.
And then I run another one for 18-year-olds upwards.
Okay.
I love it. And what I love about it is it's so amazing because they can be as dismature as they like. They don't have to be, I have 28-year-olds talking about, oh yeah, we still watch Scooby-Doo or oh Barbie movies and stuff. I'm like,
Yeah.
hell yeah, I'm 27, right? If I'm having a bad day, I'll put on a Barbie movie and
Yeah.
why not? Um, and it's really nice for them to feel comfortable where they don't have to be like, oh, I have to act 27. Whereas a lot of time
Mm-hmm.
in the real world, we always have to mask because people
Yeah.
expect us to act our age or,
Yeah.
so on these groups, we just talk about food, movies,
Yeah.
books, films,
No masks
and
allowed is one of the rules,
pretty
right?
much. And it's also definitely no mess allowed, but it's also we don't need to say we have FASD. We know it. So
Mhm.
it's really
Yeah.
fun that, sometimes it'll just come up being like, oh, I've emptied out my bank account. And we're like, yeah, we've all done that. Or, oh,
Yeah.
I bought something and actually it was a scam. Like, yeah, we've done that. Or,
Yeah.
oh, I'm always late for the bus. I've missed it every day this week. And we're like, yeah, time management, that's a thing. Where
Yeah,
it's,
it
we
is.
explain it. We're just like, yeah. And then it's, we talk about it. Sometimes
Yeah.
we're like, okay, this works for me, this might work for you, or we share funny stories of, oh, remember that time you missed 5 flights? I'm like, yep, I remember that. Um, so and but it's not about, oh, we have to share our stories of FAC or we need to share our struggles. It's we want to be calm, but most of the time we end up like doing quizzes or just
Mm-hmm.
socializing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's amazing, and I love my groups. I do, because I love to see their progression
Yeah.
from the first session we did where nobody talked to where we
Mm-hmm.
are now, and I cannot get them to stay quiet. Where, almost an hour is not enough because they have
Yeah.
so much to say.
How often do you meet?
We meet once a month, which is
Okay.
because I run it. The kids one is on the adults one, and we have like people from Canada and America in it as well, so it's international. Um, I run it on the second Thursday for the adults and then the third Thursday for the kids.
Okay.
Um, and for me, it's the kids are always like, oh, we want it to be more than an hour. I'm like, I don't think I could handle more of an hour of trying to keep on top of yous because half the time yous are like bullying me and da da da. I'm like, yeah, I'm not trying to get called ancient and old and like, but it's amazing to see their confidence, and also to see that they come in with stories like, I advocated for myself today in college, where I stood up and said, or I accepted help. I'm like, and they're like, we wouldn't have
Yeah.
done that before because we were scared, or we were, and I'm like, there we go.
Yeah.
So it's really
Yeah.
beneficial, but it's also giving something that there isn't a lot of, which is just a social group where don't
Yeah.
have to feel like they have to be a 55-year-old. And we
Yeah.
have all ages, so we have people up to their 60s in it.
Okay.
So it's just a bit of fun, and
Yeah.
I love it. It's like the
So
highlight of
send me the information for how
the
people
world.
can join,
I will
both the
definitely.
kids and the adult group. And I'll make sure that that information is in the show notes so that
Yeah.
parents that are listening can encourage their kiddos to check it out.
Yeah. Oh, the
Um,
more the merrier.
yeah, that is cool. So um, I think the health coach app is winding down, is it not?
It is. So
Yeah. What's next for you?
our current project is preparing for the FAC conference, which is
Hmm.
back. Um,
Yeah.
and we are very excited.
The Vancouver conference in Seattle.
Yes. I know there's a lot of confusion.
Yeah.
Um, because so it's known as the Vancouver conference because it was the FAC conference that everyone wanted to go to for the last 30 years, 40 years.
Yeah.
And it was always held in Vancouver. And sadly, just before COVID, or pretty much during we lost the funding.
Yeah.
And so we've been fighting since COVID happened, so 2019,
Yeah.
of finding funding to put it back on.
Yeah.
And we were very fortunate to I guess collaborate and with FAC United, who were able to
Mhm.
secure funding. Um and so we have moved it to Seattle.
Yeah.
But it's still going to be the exact same magical Vancouver conference that everyone remembers. The
Yeah.
things are pretty much the same. The people are going to be the same people. It's just a
Yeah.
different country.
Yeah.
Um, which makes it also just an exciting new journey, I think,
Hmm.
and I'm so excited because yes, it's amazing when it happens, and the fact that, we have people with living FAC experience coming from all over the world,
Yeah.
and it's
Have
anyone
you
who's
been to
ever
the States before? Is this going to be your first
I
time?
was in Washington, D.C. last November, so a year
Okay.
ago, I think pretty much to this day, um, to actually with the health coach app. We were presenting at a conference.
Okay.
But I didn't want to leave. I discovered a thing called Walmart, and I did not want to leave Walmart. I would have gladly stayed there for the rest of my life if I could. We have nothing like that in Ireland, so I
Okay.
left Walmart. I adored it. Um, but for anyone who's ever listening, who's ever been in a room where there's more than one person with FAC, and the sparks that fly of,
Yeah.
like me, oh
Yeah.
my gosh, you get it. Oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
imagine having 100 in one
Yeah.
room, and the conversations, the friendships,
Yeah.
the things that occur, of the humorous, the sense of
Yeah.
humor that people with FAC have, and their
Yeah.
solutions.
I can't wait till, when I'm able to join and make it to that conference. I can't travel as long as I'm still taking care of my mom. I'm grounded, I'm stuck. But I so can relate. When I was a kid, that diabetic camp did that for me. It was the only place I was normal, right? Well, almost normal. I still, in hindsight, I recognize all my FASD quirks.
Oh, 100%.
Um, yeah, which the other kids didn't have. But it was the most normal I had ever felt. And then probably maybe 8 years ago, 7 or 8 years ago, I organized 7 years ago, I organized a reunion, well, a get together of fellow service dog teams,
Oh, wow.
because I have a service dog for my diabetes.
Mm.
And I was flying from California to Pittsburgh to visit my mom, who's, of course, now here in California with me. But I reached out to a couple of the other clients and said, I'm going to be in the tri-state area. Who wants to meet up? Next thing I know, we had 30
Oh, wow.
families.
Fun.
And yeah, it was an incredible weekend. It
Oh, it
was an
sounds
incredible weekend. It was awesome. So
and
yeah,
that.
I'm
Oh,
looking
amazing.
forward to having that experience again with the
Well,
FASD crowd.
that'll happen. And I think what makes it really special is we have our own conference stream, which is just for adolescents and adults with FASD. So it's our
Hmm.
own stream where so there's a researcher stream which happens, which people are with FASD are more than welcome to attend also. But this one is
I wonder
it's
which one Emily's going to be at.
oh, she's gonna be at our stream, obviously. Um,
But she's a researcher too.
she's gonna be jumping from bit to piece to from conference to conference. But what's really fun is the adult stream is aimed at people with FASD, so it's topics that are relevant, it's
Yeah,
language that is relevant, it is
yeah,
conversations that are relevant, but it's put on by people with FASD.
yeah,
So it's a researchers, it's a safe space
yeah.
also, so researchers can't attend. It is just for people with FASD.
Hmm. Hmm.
And some of the greatest ideas and greatest topics that then researchers are like, oh, okay, actually
Yeah,
this is what needs to be researched, or this is what people with FAC are wanting to know.
yeah.
And actually I believe it was actually at this conference where the health study survey actually came out of it was just a conversation of people talking about, oh, I have this, oh,
Yeah.
I suffer from health, and all of a sudden it was a okay, there's a lot of commonalities, and there's also a lot of people um, with these disabilities that aren't age appropriate. Okay, and that's
Hmm.
how the it guards come about. Of okay, this needs to be researched, and this
Yeah,
is how it came.
I was just talking with Christy about that, about the being at 206-fold risk of adult onset or early diagnostic,
Yeah.
early onset of dementia,
Oh yeah,
because
and
that's scary.
that's terrifying, and I think it
Yeah.
it changed the way people thought about FAC, whereas before
Hmm.
it was everyone just thought it was the brain, whereas after the health survey was done, it was
Yeah.
actually it's a whole body thing. It's not
Yeah.
just affect the brain; it affects the entire body,
Yeah.
and it needs to be looked at as
As a
people changing.
holistic issue. Hmm.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so it's amazing the things that come out of attending that conference or just being part
Yeah.
of the conversation at that conference.
Yeah. Yeah. I wish there was a way I could be there. Oh, my stars.
One day,
One
one day.
day. One day. Yeah. Um, yeah, that's incredible. So I have a couple things for you guys to suggest to the researchers.
Okay then.
So one is about the dementia, right?
Mhm.
Which is all about memory.
Oh
Well,
yes.
you and I both know that it's hard to track the movement of time for most of us, right? We get in these time warps like I did yesterday.
Mhm.
And and if you cannot timestamp your memory of something, it doesn't get filed correctly.
Yeah. Oh, I know
Could
that one.
that be the vehicle by which we have the early onset dementia?
I mean, potentially.
I
It's
don't know.
yeah.
I I call myself a nerd all the time, but I don't do the research. I don't know who
Yeah.
does, but hopefully you guys can pique someone's
Yeah.
interest there,
Yeah. You
figure
never
out
know.
how you could look at that.
Yeah, there we
So,
go. You never know. It's you never know what's going to come out really of
yeah.
conferences and who's going to be there and what kind of topics they're like, oh, that
Hmm.
I'd love to do something on that. So you never
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
magicalness of it all.
Wow. Well, we've been talking for almost an hour already.
Wow, time flies when we're
It
having fun.
does. Maggie, do you have any other things that you'd like to share with the audience today?
Uh, I think first I want to anyone who like listens to anything FAC related, whether it's a podcast or wants to or attends a webinar and stuff, from someone living with FAC, I want to thank them for just taking an
Mm,
interest. Because it can be a very difficult step to take,
yeah.
but you're doing it for the right reasons, whether it's that you're looking after someone, or you know
Yeah.
someone, or you're supporting someone, or you have working with a family that potentially has. Thank you for actually,
Yeah.
just taking the time to go and find resources or taking time to listen. Um, and of course, I want to thank you, Patty, Crucial
Oh,
Passport, for inviting me on. Because it's I'm honored anytime I get invited to be part of a webinar, a conference, a podcast,
yeah.
because we are still at the point where I'm a huge advocate for nothing about us without us, and sadly, we're
Hmm.
not quite there yet. Of
Yeah.
and very often I'm stirring the boat when I see conferences or webinars going on, and I'm like, well, where's your living experience, boys? You have a parent, you have a doctor, you have
Hmm.
a teacher or an educator, but where's someone with a natural living experience who can actually say what it's like for them and
Yeah.
not someone just thinking they know it? So I'm
Yeah.
very grateful anytime I get invited to do these things because I think it is so important.
Yeah.
And I think the great teachers are living experience. The medical field, if you want to know the medical jargon, that's fine. But actually, until you hear what it's like for an individual, of what it's like for them, why do they do this? What
Hmm.
makes them act this way, or what helps them? Or
Yeah.
you hear what a day to day is like for them, and that insight, you learn so much more than you can from reading
Yeah.
a book or going
Yeah.
to a medical conference on FASD. It's
Yeah.
living experience is you just never know what you're going to pick up or what they're
Yeah.
going to say or how their experiences could be similar to what's happening in your household or
Right.
yeah, so I want to thank everyone for listening, and I'm Irish, so I love to talk. So I love to talk, if it wasn't obvious. I don't sound Irish, but I am. So yeah,
You
thank
sound more
you.
Irish than I do, and I am part Irish also.
There we go. Oh, no, it's people in Ireland are like, you're not Irish, you're like American. I'm like, no, no, I'm
But
Irish.
you
They're
don't
like,
sound American.
thank you, thank you. You see, validation. Oh,
You
I'm going to
sound
be playing.
Irish to me.
I'm going to be playing this podcast to all my Irish friends and like going to that part where you're like, you sound Irish to me. I'm like, see, an American says I'm Irish, so.
Oh my goodness, the way everyone wants to put each other in a box these days.
Oh, boxes are boring.
You know, you're too old, you're too white, you're too this, you're too that. It's like, get over yourself.
Yeah.
Get
You mean
over
20
yourself,
boxes?
right?
100%. Yeah.
So one of the things that I've found in my diabetic journey
Mm-hmm.
is that when parents of kiddos or, kids are newly diagnosed, parents have a tough time adjusting, right? And they go through shock and denial and grief and, oh my God, it's the end of the world, my poor child. And because I've lived with it so long, I'm able to come alongside them and say, yes, but
Yeah.
they will develop strength of character that they would not have otherwise because they live with this chronic illness that can turn acute on a dime. It will build strengths in them. How would you say you've experienced that with your FASD? How has it shaped you in ways that are positive that you may not have experienced if it weren't for the FASD?
Oh, I love having FASD, which really
Okay.
surprises people because it is who I am. I think
Mm-hmm.
it's without I wouldn't have gone on this journey. I wouldn't have discovered that I'm great at mentoring people. I'm great at bringing people out of their shells. I'm great at supporting. I'm great at talking, apparently. But it also makes me really aware of the importance of supporting each other
Yeah.
and also the importance of standing up for what you believe in and for just because I have FAC doesn't mean I don't want to be babied. Yes, there's certain things I cannot do or I need loads of support, and that's okay. But that doesn't mean I need to be wrapped up in cotton wool. And, this is a
Yeah.
long conversation I have with my parents very often being like, look, I'm going to fail at things and I want to fail because it's
Mm.
from those failings I can learn, okay, next time I will not do this. I'll make the same mistake, but I'll go about it a different way until
Yeah.
I find things.
Until you find what works.
Exactly. And I
Yeah.
think it's also about celebrating the small successes. In my household, we celebrate if I remember to shower in every day.
Yeah.
If I remember to brush my teeth, if I remember to, put on clean clothes, it's all these that people take for granted. I'm a
Yeah.
27-year-old. If I didn't have FAC, parents wouldn't be celebrating that. Oh, Maggie put on clean socks today. Hip hip hooray. Um, whereas, it's little small things and it's
Yeah.
what we do in our house is it's day for day because,
Mhm.
I can do things today. By the time tomorrow comes, I'm going to have forgotten I even learned how to do that, or I'm going to forget I did it. So
Yeah.
it's celebrating them now and it's celebrating tiny things.
Yeah.
And I talk to educators about this, being like, look, if I get one spelling correct on this test, I'm going to celebrate the hell out of it. Yeah, it's 1 out of 100, but at least it's one.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
it's about just celebrating small things and not making a big deal out of
Yeah.
things.
There's
And
such
also,
wisdom in that, Maggie.
I
Such
know,
wisdom in that because
Irish.
not many not many people live in the here and now,
Yeah,
right?
and it's
We're either consumed by past regrets
mm,
or future anxieties,
oh yeah, and
but to live and celebrate in the moment,
oh
that's
yeah,
gold.
it is, and it's you wouldn't believe how empowering it is for the individual.
Mhm.
Where also very often we can remember everything negative that's been said
Mm.
about us, every negative thing we have done. Very often we don't get celebrated. We don't,
Yeah.
it's everyone always remembers us for the bad things or the negative
Yeah.
things we've done. They don't
Yeah.
remember us for the actually yesterday Maggie split her lunch because he forgot his lunch. Oh no,
Mm.
they'll remember Maggie didn't do her homework. Maggie did not do this, or Maggie was
Yeah.
late for class. So it's a every time that there's a
Yeah.
small celebration, it's a win for us. I did something good today. And
Yeah.
it's really nice to be able to go to bed and instead of being like, oh, I was in trouble, my teachers didn't get me, I got detention, or my parents
Yeah.
yelled at me. They said I did okay today. They put
Yeah.
a good tick, or I got a
Yeah.
gold star today. It was oh, I did something right today.
Well,
And that,
even neurotypical folks
yeah,
tend to, just really ride out the negative and not take pride in the positive and what
yeah,
they have done. So that's such a valuable lesson really for everybody, for all of humanity.
oh yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing all that.
Thank you for having me.
So I'll definitely have you come back again sometime.
Cannot wait.
And I can't wait to meet you in person.
No.
I spent some time living in Tennessee and I picked up an old Southern expression. When I get to see you, Maggie, I'm going to hug your neck.
Oh, I love it. Oh, I love that. That's a great one. I might be borrowing that one.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. They've got some good ones down south.
Too. Oh, you do indeed.
But have a marvelous rest of your day.
You.
Everybody in the audience, I can't believe we are wrapping up another episode of Living with FASD. If you have enjoyed this episode, let us know. You can either put it in the comments on Spotify or YouTube, or you can write to me at livingwithfasdpodcast@gmail.com. If you want to hang out with us, you can do so in the Facebook group called Living with FASD Podcast. And you can find Maggie on Facebook,
At
Instagram.
Facebook, Instagram,
Yes.
Twitter, TikTok, and then my email, which is open to anyone who wants to contact me, is very simple. It's just Maggie May, FASD@gmail.com. I don't like overcomplicating things.
Yeah. So I'll have all that contact information also in the show notes. And if you're inspired, please make your reservations for the conference in Seattle in April, right?
In April 2024.
Yes, so they are at this point taking reservations with a group discount. So I will put information in the show notes also about that and how you can come and partake of that conference, which will be totally fab. And please come back to the podcast channel on Friday for the next Free Friday tidbit. Come back again next Monday for the next episode of Living with FASD. If you have not already picked up a copy of Sip by Sip, it will make a great Christmas or Hanukkah present or Kwanzaa or whatever holiday that you celebrate. It's written for the 15 plus million Americans. I'm not sure how many people in Ireland who are walking around without realizing their life struggles are biologically based because of a prenatal brain injury. And through the telling of our stories, several of the people in here are also changemakers and part of the ALC. You might recognize yourself, you might recognize someone that you know or love, and this would make a great gift because it, as Maggie and I can both say, the diagnosis changes nothing and everything at the same time because it changes the way you see yourself and it takes the weight off your shoulders. It makes you realize I'm not crazy. I'm not bad. I'm not this, that, or the other thing that people have been telling us for years. And we start to tell ourselves that. So it takes all that away and normalizes our day-to-day struggles. So great gift, low cost. It could even be a stocking stuffer because it's a paperback. Although I don't like anyone bending books. I just, yeah, no. But anyway, have a great week, everybody. And Maggie, thank you again. So
Thank
glad you
you.
came on.
Thank you.
Take care, everyone.